Hello guys, my name is Adam Shadow and I am back with some more videos for you. Today we have something very interesting. These two machines behind me are currently the world's smallest double-speed shulker box fillers and filters for items. Let's take a closer look. So, let's first talk about this design on the right here. This thing, as you can see, does not preserve the slices, which means that when I have here a filter for redstone, next to that I have something for dirt, next to that I have something for stone. They'll all end up in one hopper line. Right? So then you probably want to attach something like the USS or another different storage system that filters the boxes into the right slices. This is extremely useful for farms that you want to set up and they are not very limited by MSPT. Certain farms don't have, I would say it, inherent limit to them that's not lag. For example, spawner farms don't care about lag. Like the limit is literally the amount of spawners you can have next to you, not the amount of milliseconds it takes for the server to process. And other designs, there are things like tree farms that have a limited speed by how fast the player can play saplings and stuff like that. In those cases, I would highly recommend to build these and attach them to a storage, because this thing is extremely cheap. It's not the least laggy, but it's quite close. It basically only has a few unlocked hoppers. Sadly, these ones here are full. I'll later explain why. And you can also do some trickery with this and adjust by how much the boxes will get filled up by the level of filling of this shulker box here. So you might want to have a farm that, for example, fills half a shulker box with, let's say, one item type, like, for example, you are producing both, let's say, bamboo and sugarcane right next to each other, and for some reason you want to fill half of the box with one type, the other half with the other one, which is easily possible. Just chain two of these machines back to back, basically make these boxes that are filled go back into a similar machine into the place for the empty boxes or the source boxes, or however you want to call it. So let's explain further in detail how this works. Here on top is a special filter layout. You may recognize this top part here as a double speed filter. And here we have 3 pieces of redstone to make it one white tileable. But the difference is that instead of like we do it in traditional filters, for example here in this USS prototype, instead of locking or unlocking a hopper, we are actually activating this local clock here that will power this dropper to inject the boxes into the the items into the box. This is obviously also possible to do with a local clock. You just need to put a redstone torch here and have a clock, let's say, running like this, and have some sort of component, let's say a iron trapdoor or even iron door or something that gets activated by the clock. Even a piston could theoretically work. So in order to have this work and not just suck in the blocking items or filling items of these 4 slots here in the filter, we just have to fill this up completely with items. I did it here with filling everything up with redstone dust. This is necessary for this dropper. But for these 3 hoppers, you can in fact fill the other slots with other items, even ones that fit into one slot. Just make sure you use 2 different types of them, since this hopper here is capable. Yeah, then two different types should be okay. This one basically goes into both of these, so to not have the machine break on you. The second step is to somehow find out where the box is filled. This is also not always the case for contraptions like these. Some of them, for example, detect when a hopper or a dropper or something above them fills up, not the box itself. However, with this really compact layout designed by GPW, I believe, he used basically the lower part. He made basically the lower part of this, but he made it 1 block wider for some unknown reason. So yeah, I just used that part from him and compacted it down a lot. Now, when the box is full, this redstone dust changes its power level. That's what you can also adjust, like I mentioned, by changing the amount of items here. If you lower it, you can, for example, only half fill boxes, if you want that for some reason. Then this piston here gets triggered, moves the observer, that powers this contraption here. This is actually quite interesting, because this actually zero ticks the piston moving upwards. So let's say we have it like this. Oh my god. Yeah, as you can see, this zero tick powers, which is an extremely fast activation. Basically, it happens in 0 time. That way, we can be 100% sure that this clock above never activates in the wrong moment. Hence, the machine never spills items out. And at the same time as this happens, or basically in the same game tick rather, this dispenser here gets activated and refills the box. And yeah, here is also just an extension of the pipe to make it look a bit more like a square, but you can also break this and leave it like this. This will also work. This mostly depends on how you plan to refill it. In this configuration I have it here, you would probably want to refill it using some sort of dropper pipes. So yeah, let's demonstrate how it works. So let's throw in a bit less than 64, let's say 40, I think should be enough items. Now this activated, as you can see, this piston pushed down, and the thing failed because I had this in the wrong configuration. Amazing. Now it should work. And we'll probably also get a second box filled, or maybe not. Yeah, as you can see, it worked flawlessly. All three boxes ended up in the thing. Here I'm using barrier blocks. The reason I'm just doing it is to not make it fall here down into the other machines. Obviously, in a scenario where you tile these things, you will have them like this next to each other, and even if two slices activate at the same time, it still ends up in the hopper pipe. But this layout means the boxes are not preserved in the slice in which they are filled. That means you need storage for it, like the USS. This machine, on the other hand, is a bit taller. Some people I have seen don't count this ice here and say it's actually slimmer and hence smaller surface. This is kind of debatable, but I would mostly recommend you to use ice paths for these. Here it's basically the same on the top, with the difference that this bottom part I used from a machine that Samos the Sage made, another prototype member. He made it quite a while ago, and he used a very clever trick for this. I'm pretty sure this one was discovered by Command Leo, or at least he told me it was from him. And that's using this dropper here. Because if this repeater powers this dropper, there is some sort of different tiletic priority or something like that. I'm not 100% sure what that causes it to act like this zero tick machine in the way that the items won't get spilled out. So you always just end up with boxes in this hopper instead of also a box and an item. Some box filling machines do that, sadly. It's a big issue to fix it. This, however, is not configurable. Basically has to use a redstone block here. Like, you can even use a lever or anything. It has to be a redstone block. You could of course make it larger, like all of these things are extendable, of course. This is just a demonstration of a pipe you could use. You could also just put at least two more hoppers here. And it works similarly that when the signal strength here changes, this T flip-flop activates, which basically means it activates every second time the signal changes. That means this piston extends only once when the box fills and not twice or something weird like that. Then it powers this repeater, this dropper as I mentioned, and powers the top here. If you want to, the extension for this is actually even simpler. You don't even need to add dispenser or observer, sorry. Here. But of course, if you want to make it longer, you need to do some other things with the pipes. Now, let's talk about how to possibly improve these designs in the future, and maybe some technical details about them. This thing here is extremely low on tile entities, which is a huge thing in case you have a machine that activates a lot of pistons. Especially filled tile entities cause a lot of lag due to how Minecraft is coded. The immensely clever developers of Mojang decided to use a very inefficient list for listing all of the blocks, or I would say not all of the blocks, but the activatable blocks like droppers, hoppers, the observers, and all of the other things like. And that causes, if you have a very long list, to lag the server basically. If you move a block with piston and you have a long list of droppers to go through on the server, it will lag quite a bit. That's why super compact machines like these can be really effective. Secondly, to lock all of these things, it's probably not possible. You can do something like this, put here a block, and now you have some space here, but that will be a little tricky, maybe even extend it even higher. Then you should be able to lock this one, simply like this. You probably don't want to lock this on the top one. To lock this one, it's also a bit problematic because you lock the resupply. And yeah, this one is probably also the same story. So when you, for example, want to have this around but not lag or work, that so you could just power it, this repeater here and piston here with a redstone lock that will lock both of these hoppers, and some sort of trickery you could find through the clock here to lock even this hopper, which will make this lag a lot less because filled hoppers lag quite a bit. Also, there's probably no way to cover this hopper here, sadly. There's a nice way to improve these designs in case you want to store a large set of items at once, but that will make this not one white tileable but two white tileable. So let me demonstrate what I mean by this. If you rearrange these redstone lines to go let's cut this maybe a bit down. Yeah, so 16. You can make this work on a lower signal strength. Yeah, now it will work on signal strength 2, not 3. That means this thing here can suck in 48 items instead of whatever that was before, which is, let me show you the exact number. This is, here it can suck in 25 if I'm not mistaken, and here it's 48, which is almost double the amount. Which is quite a big difference. For example, if you are playing on a faction server and you unload a lot of loot from someone into this machine, and because of this layout, it still won't power the adjacent slices. Therefore, you don't need to worry about using water streams to that will overflow the machine. And theoretically this also lags a bit less, since you are doing less redstone updates. So yeah, let me show you maybe how to do the global clock here. Yeah, this will now work similar to the iterations of the USS, where there is a control clock that's sending a 4 game tick interval pulse. over and over. That way you have some more control over the machine. But it's totally not necessary. There is no possibility to lock these uh, droppers here by adjacent slices, since there's this solid block. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. Guys, if you want to seek a challenge in storage tech, definitely try and beat me. Make something smaller than this that has the same, I would say, parameters or the same capabilities. And it's also obviously in the version 1.12. There are some designs by Ken 2000 who published them in the Storage Tech archive that are similarly sized, but they are 1.13 or more plus. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. Bye.